Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ascent call. I apologize for being a few minutes late. I will just say that up front. Could not get in for some reason. But we were just talking about Envision. Ed was doing a great job of leading the call and how important it is to get there. And it's Janetta Angel who has an extra ticket if somebody wants it. Janita, okay, I'm sorry. Would you, if you don't mind, there's a chat bar in the very bottom. If you want to put your email address in there, we might have someone who might be able to contact you about it. Do you have it for $69?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Perfect. Okay, so when she puts her email address in, and if anybody needs the ticket, please feel free to contact her. The holidays are upon us. Ascent is coming, Envision is coming up, and we are still driving towards going to the Ascent Adventure. All right, so Marilyn, can you hit stop share up at the top? Marilyn Way, can you hear me? Thank you. So are anybody, let me just ask, are anybody having any issues that you want to bring up at all? You all being able to create interest and get everybody interested in wanting to know more about this? Or is everybody being able to follow up with everything? Is everyone being able to close people?
So I'm having an issue.
Okay.
Good morning.
You never have an issue. Go ahead.
So I get interest. I get permission to send a video, and they don't watch it. And I don't know really how to follow up knowing they haven't watched it. I mean, I've touched on it a few times, like, hey, just please, I want to make sure you got your email and, check your spam folder and things like that. And it's, I don't want to let them go, but I need to move on as well. So the issue is sort of, I'm kind of paralyzed staring at these videos that aren't being watched. Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's the deal. Back in the day when I was first starting, I had no idea if they watched the video or not, right? Now we have Jeannie, which is a beautiful thing, and she tells us, but I just didn't know. So I had already told them that I was going to call them with somebody else on the line who was going to be able to answer their questions, because I really didn't know how. So that was part of my process. So then I would book, and Cindy Buck, usually, she was my go-to person. I would book her every day on my break, and I would call with Cindy on the line. I didn't know if they'd watch the video or not. I didn't care. Because when I'd say, Russell, do you have 5 minutes? And you'd say yes, I'd say, great. I'm lucky enough to have Cindy Buck on the phone, and she's going to be able to answer all your questions. So what did you like best about the video? Because I would start it off or whatever, and you'd go, oh, Debbie, I'm really sorry. I didn't get a chance to watch it. And I'd say, okay, well, maybe Cindy could tell you just a little bit more to get you interested in watching it. And then Cindy would, Cindy would do her magic. She would start talking about redox molecules and how important they are for your body, and explain a little bit more about it. And the person, by the time we were finished, was so excited to learn more. Sometimes they didn't even care if they'd watched the video. I think they eventually went back and watched it, but I didn't care if they'd watched it or not. I called them back anyway. So I think that's the mindset that you have to get going in if you're going to be, reaching people and finding out, because I'd say 90% of them don't watch it when you send it, unless you've gotten them so excited that they can't wait to see it. And so it depends on, that part of it too. But even if they're that excited, sometimes life gets in the way, and you know, and especially during this time of the year, you've got all kinds of other things to do, and you get a video in the email, and you're just like, I don't have time to watch that right now. I'm going to have to watch it later, and then of course it gets buried. So don't doesn't matter if they watched it or not. I'd call them back, and again, hopefully, if you had set up a time, like when would you be able to watch this, and you've already set up a time that you're going to be calling, I'd call them anyway, and just and I'd call them even if you haven't set up a time. Call them the next day, because they're going to forget. They're going to start forgetting what this is, and they're going to start forgetting how excited they were about hearing about this. And again, like I said, it's the holidays, so they've got other things on their mind. But I would just call them back anyway. And if you can do it with somebody else on the line, that's even better, because now they're going to hear it from somebody else. And they can also see that, if all subliminal stuff, that if you're calling with somebody else, well, you've got help. Well, I guess if they did it, then they would have help also. We work as a team. And they'd also hear that, depending on if you know them or not, they don't know you as a redox expert usually if you're already friends, because you didn't do this your whole life. But the other person, in my case, Cindy Buck, was always the redox expert. Well, she'd only been in a few months earlier than me, so I don't know how much more of an expert but she definitely had gone to some of the fly-ins, and she knew a lot more than I did, definitely, by the time she got in, and she'd been doing 3-ways. So I think it's all just a matter of forging ahead and not caring if they've looked or not, because you can usually get them interested. Okay, thanks, Russell, for bringing that up, though. Are there any other issues that anyone else might be having?
What do you do when it seems like they come back, like when they're having detox symptoms, so they think it's the ASEA?
What is the ASEA?
I know, but in a bad way.
Oh, in a bad way. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I usually do if I'm talking to somebody new and they're about to try it, I tell them that there's a possibility for detox. So I scare them into drinking more water, at least, usually. So I always kind of prep them ahead of time. But if you haven't, I'll tell you what to say also. But so I always say, if you're drinking enough water, this is going to raise your glutathione levels. You don't know what that's going to do, but that's going to start detoxifying you right away. And if you drink enough water, you won't have an issue. However, if you don't drink enough water, it's like going for a deep tissue massage. So I kind of take away the scary part and just say, if you've ever had a deep tissue massage, they take the toxins from your muscles and dump it into your bloodstream. And if you don't drink water, that's going to try to get out somehow, and you haven't drank enough water. So you're going to get a headache, or you're going to wake up feeling like you have the flu. Your muscles are going to be sore, or you could even have a rash.
Right, and that's
how
what
much
he
water,
got. But he
so
has,
they're
but he has cancer. He's
right.
taking a chemo, so it's
of
like,
course.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay, so if you didn't tell them ahead of time, you could now go back to them and say, listen, nobody can be allergic to this. This is what you already have in your body. You've got to understand this. This is going to do nothing but go to those damaged cancer cells and give them the message that they're not supposed to be reproducing. And your body's going to take those dead cells away. But you have to drink enough water, because you have a lot of toxins in your body, and this has raised your glutathione levels, and you started detoxing, and you got a rash. And I just had a man, he had Parkinson's, and he was smart enough to know. He had a rash all over his stomach. He goes, I'm sure I'm detoxing. I've taken a lot of medicines. He continued to take it. I was so happy. And even though, I had told him about it, but anyway, so I would go back and just say, you have to listen to me. Do I have your attention? Make it important.
And the ideal situation, Debbie, would be that she had you on the line or somebody else, and introduce the third person as, I've spoken to someone about your, I'm concerned about you, and I wanted to make sure you get proper information. And I have someone on the line who's going to be able to address this for you, so that, to help you understand what's happening. And
you can do that also, definitely. I was the three-way for this person who had Parkinson's, and he lives in Georgia, I think. Anyway, so I was the third party for him to tell him about it. But he luckily already knew about it. But anyway, so I would if you want to get somebody else, but make sure he's listening. Just if you're making a phone call, you don't know what people are doing on the other end of the line. And sometimes they're just not paying that much attention. So make it important. Say, okay, I need to tell you something. Are you listening? Do I have your undivided attention for a few minutes? I can tell you, I just told my own daughter that. She has a guy who is very kind of attention deficit like. And the guy is having remarkable results, but he wasn't starting to take it properly or anything. And so she went over and just said that to him. Just listen. Until you stop and look at me, because she was at his house, and give me your undivided attention. I'm not going to tell you anything. So he stopped. He put his phone down and he listened to her. That's what you have to do these days, because we're just so bombarded by information all the time. So make sure he understands that this is not hurting him. It's helping him. It's getting all that toxic junk out of his body, and tell him that and say, you're going to feel so much better when this gets out of your body. You'll have no idea how much better you'll feel.
His toilet is flushing.
That's right.
Right.
I have something to add to this conversation. There's a young man who was thrown over the front of a motorcycle, and he's got a headache, and he's not going to come into our ASEA world, and he'll die right on time. I'm done with it. But I've shared with him for quite some time. I took him Samuelson's books. I took him Redoc's Life. And when I sent him a text recently, I said, you may want to look at this information. He said, if this information does not pertain to, and then he gives me the medical definition of his brain injury, he said, you're not going to convince me of anything. And I texted him back and I said, it's not my job to convince anyone of anything. God bless your. And I'm really halfway tempted to send just one more text and say, this is not issue specific science. This is the enhancement of cellular communication to help the body do what it's designed to do and repair cells. But that comment of it is not issue specific science for me is going to cover some bases.
I like that.
Exactly. So and Pearl's been doing this a long time, so she knows what she's talking about, definitely. So it's something that you have to get their attention, because I just find, too many times, and I'll stop if somebody's, doing something else on the phone and I can tell they're not paying attention. I'll just stop and say, well, this is very important information, and I don't want you to waste my time or yours. So if you're going to give me attention, fine. I can be that, forward now, because that's what I know. This is that important, and some people, are dying because they don't have it. So, so make it important, and then to get somebody else on the phone if you need to. So I try when I'm introducing somebody new, when they finally heard the word ASEA, I will tell them. I said, if you go Google this, you're going to see all kinds of good and bad. But I will tell, and I tell them still about the, I said, there's a very old website. He's got no scientific proof, and we wouldn't have had 33 patents on this if it was just salt water, because that's impossible. So in other words, don't be dumb about this. And I also tell them about the detox if they're about to start it. Even with Renew 28, Ray Doon Bond, the really famous neck picture, the very first thing that we saw at convention, when she put it on, and she'd been drinking ASEA for several years at that point, she had this horrible red rash that came up, but she knew exactly what it was. And so she continued using it, and you saw her neck results. So a lot of times the people with the toxins that start coming out and they can see them do have the most remarkable results, because they're so full of toxins that when they get rid of those, they really do feel extraordinary afterwards. So if you kind of give them something to look forward to, and just say you have to continue using it, don't stop. Continue using it so the toxins keep coming out. Okay, thanks, Linda. Anyone?
I have a couple of people that have been taking fairly significant amounts that say they're not getting results, and they don't want to do anything with the business until they get their own experience. And I'm not sure where to go with them.
Well, here's what I always tell people. That's one of my pet peeves when I have my results. I look at people and I go, you know what? How did you make your decision? Well, I looked at the information and I got more information. I go, well, why are you withholding this from other people who can make up their own minds about this after looking at the information? You're holding it back from people who could use this or need this. And the smartest thing to do would be to get this. And there's a story Brandon Coffey was in a long time ago, and he was smart enough. He was young, but he was smart enough to know he probably wasn't going to feel that much. So he got it on 10 people. Another one, Pia Erickson in my Swedish group, she worked at a university. She knew that you couldn't just get this on one person. There's no study ever done with one person. So she called 23 of her best friends and said, listen, this cannot hurt you. It's like the fountain of youth. Let's all try it together. Well, she saw people that literally had a response in a day, in 2 days, in a week, in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months. There are people like Tammy Gates who didn't have a response for 11 months. If she'd waited for her response, she would have missed out on, I think she said 1,467 people, because that was the first year that she'd gotten in. And I think it was $147,000 that she made. It's being ignorant to think that when you have your response, he could not have a response for 11 months, and you can tell him that. But there are people out there that are hurting, and he understood at least a little bit enough about the technology to know that he wanted to try it. Well, you've got smart friends. You don't have dumb friends. They can make up their own mind. You just present this and just say, I don't know, if this is going to do anything for me quite yet or not. I haven't had my response yet, but I think the science is amazing, and you might want to take a look at it. So tell him, try to show him the significance and the importance of getting it on several people all at once. Even maybe tell them about the Renew 28. Do the 3 and 5. You can say you can go out to 10 people and put the Renew 28 3 times in 5 minutes on them, anybody having discomfort in their joint or muscles, and see the response. 9 out of 10 people will have a response. So you've got to know that these molecules are doing something for your body. You're just not feeling it yet. And I also tell people there are 2 things that this does for you within 30 minutes of taking it. One is it changes your blood immediately. Your blood looks completely different. And then the second one is that it changes your metabolites. And so you literally go into fatty acid metabolism within 30 minutes of taking it. It's breaking apart the fatty acids around your abdomen and organs, and you're using that for fuel at that point. And it's leaving glycogen in the muscles and in the brain where it's needed. And that's why athletes do such a great job on this product. They have that much more endurance, and they can go that much longer and be able to, recover even faster, because this also helps you heal. But give them those suggestions, basically.
My one friend says to her it's a matter of integrity. Until she has a response, she doesn't feel like she can tell someone else about it.
Well, that's not something I did. I just didn't think that was right. I was pretty healthy. I didn't even think I was really going to have much of a response. It was actually before I had a big response I mean, I did feel less stressed, but I don't know if people would even attribute that to ASEA. I know it was ASEA, but anyway, that wasn't a big deal. It wasn't until 2 years later that I had my eye issue disappear. I mean, eye issue. I don't have to wear my glasses anymore. So if I'd waited for 2 years, first of all, I would have lost my house. I mean, just, and I wouldn't have affected thousands of people at this point.
Right.
So I don't know if you can point those things out in a nice way. Sometimes I don't do it in a very nice way even, but.
Can I say something, Debbie?
Of course. Hi, Gary.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good to see you guys. The whole idea with the people stepping in with their ego, I just look at them and I always say, you know what? This is not about your ego. Let's take that out of the equation. The company's done double-blind placebo studies for a reason, to make our job in the field very, very easy. And should you decide to join the crew with us, you'll have that advantage as well. But the biggest thing is the company did double-blind placebo studies on the 5 genetic pathways that work with the VIA product that we have as well that you're probably not even privy to yet. But when you get done at the end of this process, you're going to have something that other people, why don't you race somebody to see that that can have an event before you do, and see who's going to have the outcome come first, whether you do or they do. But let's see what that looks like. But you don't have to make this about your ego, because the company has already done the double-blind placebo studies.
Right.
So, I mean, before we had that, you couldn't say that. Now we can say that, so use it. It's pretty simple.
So thank you, Gary. That's that's just it. We've proven this beyond a shadow of a doubt. We wouldn't be in 34 countries or 33 countries if this wasn't working. We would have been bankrupt long ago. We're doing over $125 million this year. You've got to point out to people, it's not on trial. It works. You're just not feeling it quite yet. Let me share my screen real fast.
Debbie?
Yes.
Can I make a comment? If people go to their doctor and the doctor prescribes a medication for them, are they absolutely sure that the doctor has taken that prescription and knows it's okay to take, and he's already seen his result?
Exactly.
No.
Right. And half the time medicines don't work anyway.
No, more often than not.
More than half.
Right. More than half.
You got him, Russ. Go, buddy.
And when they do the studies, they're lucky to get like a 3% increase in helping a person, and that's what they go on, and that's what they spend $1 billion on every time they do an indication. But I just want to show you these photos. The lower blood cell photos are the ones before they've taken ASEA. That's what their blood usually looks like because of the stress and toxins. I mean, we're, especially in the United States, when we have GMOs and all that other kind of junk and Roundup on everything we eat and all this kind of stuff. So our cells are kind of flattened and clumped together, okay? Within 30 minutes of taking ASEA, your blood cells look like the top panels there, round and luminous again. That's 30. Do you feel that? No, but that's already happened to your blood. So people just need to be aware that the changes that are happening, you don't feel them to begin with. The metabolite change, you don't feel that, but it's happened. And you can tell them we've had enough people do enough studies, I did a live blood cell test. So a lot of us have done, our own homework on this to prove that, yes, it does work, and it's working, on things that, I don't feel my blood changing, but it's changed.
I'd like to add too, when I was sponsored, I used it, I signed up because it made sense, not because I expected to feel anything. Right. I was completely blown away that I felt something within that first 2 weeks. I mean, I was like, oh my God. But I just understood the logic of it. I had a little experience with the gel, and that I just said, you know what? I'm going to do something to take care of myself. I'm going to try for 3 months. And so I think it's important, and I fall slave to this too, important to manage expectations. you know, as far as an experience goes. And I get all excited, and I have there's all these amazing dramatic stories, and I tend to share them like everyone else perhaps. And, but my sponsors did not do that with me. You know, they really, so I was blown away. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.
No, and that's true. I mean, if you're relatively healthy, or a 20-year-old's probably not going to feel very much. Both of my kids are like, well, I don't know what this is doing. And I go, I don't care, drink it. Because I could say that to them. But they didn't feel very much to begin with. They didn't have, my son finally had his story because he was training for the Marine Corps Marathon. And he was running, and all of a sudden he could run without getting winded. And he's like, wow, you know, I finally got into my first runner's high. And then he took 3 minutes off his half marathon time. Well, so I have to still point that out because now he still forgets. I don't think this is doing anything. Well, Alex, let me tell you all the things it has done.
You guys, when I tell people about the double-blind study about the genetics, and the part that got me was, you know, it was 8 weeks, and they took the blood test before and during and after the 8 weeks, and they had these amazing results. And I put a paragraph in when I was writing it down one time about how they never asked these people if they felt anything. I mean, it was the blood test that showed it, and they didn't care if the people felt it. It wasn't statistically important if they felt anything. And that's kind of the take, if that was right. That's kind of how I thought of it.
Yeah, we don't know if they felt anything or not either, because they were healthy 35-year-olds. They probably didn't feel much at all. Mm-hmm. So just have some of your facts kind of ready when people are saying things like that. And, you know, I just, that's one of my things that I hate hearing the most. When this works for me, I'm like, when it works for you, it's going to work in 30 minutes. You're going to start telling people then? And they look at me and I'm like, it's true. So I don't, you know, please don't tell me that, because my best friend, one of my best friends, Tammy Gates, didn't have her experience for 11 months. She'd broken her back.
I have a question about my time, dividing my time in the next couple of days. I go to 2 networking things. One's the Chamber of Commerce. There's about 12 or 15 people there. And I'm thinking of giving some, mentioning bank, just something about how our company helps us learn to communicate better. Or I don't have to. But the next thing that day, tomorrow, is a women's group meeting. And they're just a lovely group of women, like 29 or 30 of them, all in business for themselves. And so it's definitely networking. And I'm thinking, okay, I only have 17 samples. I can put them in these little baggies, and I can give them one of the good brochures, like, would you like to, those bigger ones? And then I'm thinking, maybe that's not the best use of my time right now to try to give a present, because I can't put it on the people. I haven't had anybody say, oh yeah, something hurts. I mean, it's like a big group of people, so I don't know them that well. So I'm thinking that might not be the best use of my time to try to make all these little packages, like a little Christmas present of a sample. What do you think?
I think unless you make it important, they'll just take it home and put it on the shelf.
Right.
So
it's hard to make it important in about 30 seconds or so. Enough, you know. Yeah.
Well, what I usually do, if I can, if they'll allow me to, I usually try to put it on myself. Then I know it's on. And that's how, like, I was just in North Carolina right after Thanksgiving.
Oh, put it on them yourself is what you're saying.
I put it on them.
Yeah, that works best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that if I didn't, you know, get it on for one man's feet, he came hobbling in, he could barely walk, he'd had no feeling, I'll just put it that way, for 20 years. And I got cocky and just said, you want me to fix your feet? And he went, yeah, sure. And I said, okay, take your shoes off. So I literally gave him a foot massage with just one foot with the Renew 28. I wish I'd recorded his face. I'll never forget it as long as I live. He was just like, he started wiggling his toes and he went, no way, do the other one. So if you can rub it on, because you're going to use it enough, and you're going to rub it all over, and you're going to help people, because literally we just had an event here in Maryland, and there were think there were 10 people up there in the front, and all 10 people had a response. But we made sure we were watching them. We made sure they were shaking up their tube and they were putting it on during the presentation. And then we called them back up, and every single one of them either had zero discomfort left or had it greatly reduced, or their stiffness had gone and they could turn their head again. I mean, it was amazing. And then we just did that a couple days ago. Amy Nolan, who's on here, did it at the wellness center, and all 6 of those people had a response.
That's 6.
Yeah. And you made sure they put it on, or you put it on them. So if you do that, then you're sure that's, they're going to use it, basically, because you've done it for them. So giving away tubes, you either have to make them know how important it is, or I would just take your own tube and give them the sample and say, here, let me show you what it does. And then they go home and use it, and they're very happy.
Hey, Joyce, sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone. All you need is one guinea pig in that crowd. Get it on them, do the testing, and you'll have a line of people standing up behind them, and give them each a tube. You'll be done, girl.
Yep.
That's simple. Don't make it tough. You put it in a baggie and give it to them. Debbie's right. It's going on the mantle somewhere. They're not.
Right. I can see that. I don't think at that particular meeting at this point I have that much time to really get somebody up there. And I mean, people get up and say their little 30 seconds well, actually they have 2 minutes. They have 2 minutes, and I've said my 2 minutes, and I've just kind of raved about it and said some of the statistics about it. And, but I haven't picked out 3 people or something, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you could ask them ahead of time who has discomfort, and have that person be your guinea pig, and, and rub that, as you're speaking, have them come up and you're rubbing it on them.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got 2 minutes, so that's almost 3. And you can ask them how they're feeling before, just a few minutes later. Just say, can I ask this person in 3 minutes what they feel like, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
You could do it that way too. I'm sure they'd allow you to ask that.
Because I've had, some people get really good results right away and be just incredulous over it. And then the next time I see them, practically, they just don't believe that really happened. But of course, that's not what we're talking about right now. But I've had people that just have not. They just haven't, or they've lied about it or something. They just haven't had it change. So I said, of course, if you have a broken bone in there, it's probably not going to do a whole lot right now.
Well, I mean,
Get out of your comfort zone, Joyce.
Exactly.
Gotta get out of your comfort zone. That's what
it works that way all the time.
That's what the become part is all about in this project.
That's right.
You become along the way, sweetheart.
Yeah.
You just need one person. If they give you 2 minutes, you can do this deal in a minute and 10 seconds. There's a clip out there we shot. Get her done, girl. Just get her done.
Wow.
Ruth, did you have something to say?
I did. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you, while we have your time, Debbie, about Ascent. I'm so excited about going, or Envision first, and driving down with one of my teammates, and we're so excited to visit people along the way. And once we get there, what's the best use of my time? Is it really asking other people there at Ascent, like how their experience, and writing that down on a card and sharing cards? Is that my best use of time besides, all the learning, or is there something else you'd recommend as a great use of my time?
Well, that's one of the best uses, is to just keep talking to people. You will get so many stories, and you'll get so many, you'll hear so many things, so many different things. And yeah, if you can exchange cards, because that's who I exchange cards with, and just write on the back of their card if they've left room and stuff, who they are and what's happened to them and that kind of thing. And you have all these stories that you can go back to. And, if you ever, of course, most people don't care if you call them, sometimes. And if you need that story for somebody that you love, just say, oh my gosh, I just ran into somebody who had the same issue. Would you like to talk to them? that can help also. But yes, that's one of your best ways of, I hope you're going to go see the production facility, right? Yeah, okay. So I think that's very important for people who have not seen that. That's so impressive. Um, and then, of course, Tyler's talk on Friday will be extraordinary, always is. And then talking to people, definitely. And meeting other people in your team also. If you're whatever, if you're under whoever you're under, if you can meet other people in your team, it's helpful because you're all working together and you can all help each other basically. And not that you can't go out of your teams, but it's nice to meet your team and be working with them. I always try to get our teams together basically.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
absolutely.
Hey, Debbie, could I
Yes.
respond to that a little bit?
Of course.
I just thought I'd jump in. Thank you.
Thank you for jumping in. That's fine.
I think when it comes to something like Envision or convention, one thing is that a lot of people go there and they're like, okay, I'm here. And, like, teach me, give me the silver bullet, whatever. It'd behoove all of us before we go in to even have down on paper some goals of what we want to get out of it. Okay, so direction here, how to do that, this, that, the other thing, and then as well on the side, like you were talking about, Ruth, if there's someone that you particularly admire that maybe isn't in your upline or your, whatever, you may just say, you know what, I really would like to introduce myself to those people and, see if I can get to know them a little bit. What's one of the determinations of what our success in the future is? It's the 5 people we hang out with and the books we read and actually who we're able to get rid of. So if you want to fill one spot with somebody that you particularly admire or want to, I'm not saying that they're going to be jumping all over you, but they're certainly going to be kind, courteous, and interested in what you had to say and just interested in meeting you. And I think that those are things that you can't do really over the phone or even over Zoom. I mean, Zoom's a lot better than the phone, but when you're right there in person, what better time than the present? And I tell you, Karen Riley was saying on the Diamond Call last week that her word for 2018 was fearless, and I took that to heart, and that is definitely my word for 2019. If you're nervous about coming up to and see a person, what the hell's it going to look like on the streets when you're out there just trying to talk to Joe Blow? Because we're about as welcoming and loving as anybody else out there. So remember to take a half hour before you go to Envision. Really ponder what it is you want to get out of that event. Now, I know you don't necessarily know what the subjects are, but there are things that are challenging you or maybe you think about during your sea of business that you might, if you really ponder it here beforehand, might realize these are the things I would really like to get an answer to or a solution to or a direction for, and this is the place to get it. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Bo.
That's great, Bo. Thank you.
Absolutely. Cheers. And that goes for topics too, which I think Bo is alluding to. But I mean, if there's something that you really want to know, like say you admire Terry Latham for his business strategy or something, you might just want to go up and say, Terry, do you have 5 minutes? I really like to hear how you strategize, because he was the one who kind of set the rhythm of the business and that kind of thing. And he kind of makes sure he gets to all his areas every 3 months or so and keeps it moving and exciting and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different things that you could learn. So if there was some specific things that you want to learn from the people, Bo's a very good strategist. He knows how to take things and look at them. He's very good at analyzing data on your reports and all that kind of stuff. Bo's great at that. Tammy's great at the back office. She could tell you a lot of things in the back office. Cindy's got the enthusiasm and the knowledge, and it just flows out of her mouth, basically. So what can I say to create interest in Cindy? She could spout off 300 things in a minute, probably. You'd have to be taking shorthand. But whoever you want to go up to, and just ask them if there's something specific that you want to learn about. As Bo said, this isn't going to be a big convention. These are where the leaders come. These are the serious people that come to this, that really want to do this as a business. And so it's going to be fewer people, and you're going to have access to people much easier. So that's the beautiful part about Envision. I don't know. I know we have about 500 people signed up, I think, right now. And of course, as it gets closer, the last minute people will get their reservations in. But anyway, so there'll be more than that. But it won't be the 3,000 or whatever, 3,500 that we had at convention. Okay. So yeah, just set some goals like Bo said, and then do talk to everybody there if you can, or as many people as you can. Well, the questions lasted almost all the time. Anything else that anyone wants to bring up? Thanks, Gary, for all your input. You just went platinum, isn't that right, Gary?
We did.
Didn't we just pin you? Yeah, in Concord. So congratulations.
I'll tell you what, it's really amazing when you do this full time with absolute passion and just stay at the helm of the ship 100% of the time.
Yes.
And Joyce, I just want to give you strength to pick one person out of that crowd, do the demo on her, and give her the tube. And you watch other people getting it. Just take about as many people as you think are going to be there. You take a tube for each of them, and you watch what happens to your business 3 months from now. Just hang on for the ride.
So pick out 1 or 2 people to do this on, and then do the demo to them, and then see how they feel, or just come back to them later in the meeting. And
do Leland's duck demo. It takes a minute and 10 seconds to do on one person.
The 3 and 5.
No.
He does a strength test.
The kinesiology demo that Leland duck does.
The balance thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do that and do it on one person. Make sure they take their shoes off if they're in heels. And just do the demo. You know how to do it, correct?
Yes, I've done that before. It's been a little while, but
okay. Well, practice it before you go. Get your A game going.
Okay.
And just pick somebody who's got the right personality type, the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do it on one person, and they'll stand up and get in line. I guarantee you.
Right.
I mean, it's just kind of the way that works, and you have fun with it. Laugh. I mean.
Well, we've done it different ways, though. We did it where we gave them a drink of it. We had them drink some and then did the balance test again.
I love to do the sports pouch under the tongue and put a dab of it on their hand, let them put it wherever they want, and let them hold the ASEA in their mouth for a while and get the redox under the sublingual thing going on. They will test so strong you can't budge them.
And the gel, too, on like the back of their neck? No?
Yeah, back of the neck's fabulous. Yeah. The product, the back of the neck and all that. But if you use both of them, then they're seeing the product in the sports pouch.
Yeah.
Take the empty sports pouches and put a $20 reward on it. Put your cell phone on the front of it and leave it empty somewhere. Watch what happens.
Say that again. Put a cell phone on the empty sports pack. I can find those empty sports packs.
Put your cell phone number on the empty sports pack, so when they're done, write $20 reward on it and just leave it somewhere. Watch what happens.
$20 reward.
That's an original. Just, you watch what happens.
Wow.
Have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Is it worth $20 to somebody to call you and say, what is this stuff?
Oh my goodness.
I think so. Just know what you're going to do when they call.
It's a new idea for me.
Is that duplicatable?
If you're going to throw it away anyway, use it.
Give me your number, Gary. I need more courage. Need more courage.
You're loving this, aren't you, Russell? Love it.
What's that?
I say you're loving it.
It's interesting.
It's not duplicatable. Well, it's duplicatable as long as you have at least a $20 bill to give somebody, and you just leave one pack around.
You can give them an option when they come in.
Right. Anyway.
I would have that $20 bill be a redemption on selling them a tube of gel at half price. Have that $20 bill sell them a tube of gel at $20 and have their $20 reward be they're getting a tube of gel at half price.
Great idea. Well, listen, I have a 3-way coming up in about a half an hour or so with a man that a doctor who does stem cell therapy and what are those platelet things, replacement thing? He does that. And I've told him a couple of times, you know, this is the missing link. And so we have a conference with him at 8:30, so pretty soon. So that's going to be good. Oh, he gives away for Christmas at the networking thing, he gave away when they give you the vitamin C shots, or they give you the, that's what he does. He does, he gives you these shots of things. What are they? They're not enzyme. Well, they're enzymes. They could be anything. He does all that. He's got all that going on, except it doesn't have a CIA in there yet. So I'm hoping that's going to be good. That's going to be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got maybe 4 minutes before it's the top of the hour. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to bring up? Because we only have a few minutes left. If not, I'll let everybody go. We can get ready for the charge up call. All right. Thank you all for your input. Thanks, Bo, for your input.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. For
Thanks,
all
Debbie.
your info.
All righty.
Thanks, Debbie.
Debbie, Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Holidays.
Thank you, Bo.
Very good.
Bye-bye.